marks the Veterans Day show, the Veterans Day weekend. And so you're like, how do you do an entrepreneurial show on Veterans Day weekend when, you know, I always call the entrepreneurs the heroes of the American economy, but I think we all know that the true heroes of this great country are the people that fight for our freedom. And today I brought back by popular demand, my son, Marcus Haney. He is a veteran. He is an entrepreneur. So you sort of share, I guess, both of those hero titles.
I don't know if I'm going to take any hero title. I appreciate the sentiment, but just happy to be back here in the Haney House of Pain a little bit.
Yeah,
huh?
You are in the hot seat. It's time for dear old dad, to take out a little bit of his motivation, frustration, attitude, take it out on his kid.
Oh, perfect. I'm used to it.
Yeah. So it should be good. Just like old times. But no, you know what's interesting, Marcus, is Veterans Day weekend, and I brought up the idea of heroes, and just because I think somebody's a hero, or you might think someone's a hero, it doesn't mean that the next person in the community is going to say, hey, that person's a hero. And I guess this is a question of you. Are you seeing? You've got a 8-year-old son. You're out there. You know a lot of people. Doesn't it feel a little bit like we put celebrities and people that are famous, right? And we look at their bling or their their famousness, if that is a word, their notoriety, and we kind of have these guys up on pedestals because of how popular they are in society, and maybe the people that should have our admiration, that should be heroes, the people that have sacrificed and had pain and suffering and figured out a way to persevere. Maybe those people should be more of the heroes versus the people who have attained celebrity.
I couldn't agree more. I definitely like some good tunes and like and listen to some good old country or some 70s rock and roll that I was introduced to you by you. But, I think that there are heroes in our world that don't get recognized. Look at the folks who have stepped up in the healthcare side of the business and saying, okay, hey, what can we do for the American population, and going out and sacrificing themselves day in and day out. Look at how the police officers are getting reprimanded and treated throughout the country as negative. I look at those folks as heroes and hope that they continue to fight for us day in and day out, because I respect what they do. Are they all perfect? No, but are any of us really?
Yeah, it's interesting because, and I think it's fair to. I think it's fair to say that anybody who achieved, this notoriety, maybe not anybody, most people who have achieved success in sports or in music, that didn't come easily. If you want to be one of the best in the world or the best in any genre, it takes hard work. And there's all this behind-the-scenes stuff that happened for years and years of pain and suffering. And then one day, and probably not overnight, you become great at something. So I in no way want to sort of disparage people that have achieved greatness. Heck, I respect success as much as anybody. That's what this show is all about, is how do we talk about success in a way that makes other people want to be successful. And it's hard work, it's pain, it's suffering, it's perseverance, it's all those things. So I in no way want to take away from success. But sometimes you turn on the TV and there's a little more of that, almost like we're celebrating the wrong stuff, right? We're celebrating somebody's opinion on in an area where they don't even have expertise, maybe it's in politics or, in other areas of society. And it's like, look, I want to respect you for being a great basketball player or a rock star, rather than for, the fancy jewelry you have and your entourage or your political views.
Yeah, own your arena maybe, right?
Yeah.
So you have people out there who are trying to jump into other people's arena where it might not necessarily be respected by the outside viewer. And I look at those people that have been on this show. I haven't been in the hot seat here for quite some time, but just looking back at the past guests we've had, people who I consider heroes of hometown capitalism, as we've been talking about on the show for several years now. Those people are the most humble people I've ever met. And the most interesting thing to me is that you got these fascist pants folks on TV who are trying to convince you of something of some sorts, where that's not the real town heroes, in my opinion. It's the guys who are rolling up their sleeves, getting it done. You know, I look at Bob Garrison type of guys. Bob Garrison is the guy who is down there doing it every day. I consider a guy like that, to be a hero of my hometown.
And just for anybody who might not know who Bob Garrison is, we haven't made him famous yet. He has been on the show. He is one of my business partners in a construction company. So you think about people who are out there swinging a hammer, pouring concrete, back-breaking type of work. In many cases, they don't make a lot of money, especially when they first start. But then you bust your butt long enough, you hire a teammate or two. Next thing you know, you got a really successful construction company, and you're able to take some of the wealth you've created and start passing it along to your employees. You're giving to the church. You're giving to other areas, but you're sponsoring little league teams. You are the hero of the American economy, right? So
that's the American dream, right?
Yeah.
That's what people have came over on boats over to Ellis Island and made their way through this country to be successful. I was having a conversation with my grandparents last night about where our family lineage comes from, and the different generations that have came through to here we are today, living in Rockland, Loomis, California, and how grateful I am that those folks put foot to rear end, day in and day out, with a continuous effort to have us being here talking on this radio show. And, I hear it a lot. Freedom is only one generation away from being taken from us, and we need to band together as proud Americans to ensure that that doesn't take place.
Well, one of the reasons I started this show, I would say, key. Obviously, I respect entrepreneurship, but we sold our companies, and what am I going to do with my life? And I was kind of starting to invest into companies a little bit, and it's like, gosh, I need to be more than an investor. I want to make more of an impact, and I think that when I look at my why behind that is I want to make my family proud. I want to be relevant to people like yourself and to you specifically, Marcus, as a veteran. So all people like you, we just talked about the entrepreneurs, the heroes of the American economy, but really here we are on Veterans Day, and I do think it's time to, it shouldn't be just this one day of the year or this one week of the year. It should be always, and I think for a lot of us it is always, that we really hold the heroes, the true heroes, the people that are putting themselves in harm's way for the good of the overall. We have to put you on a pedestal, and I know you don't want to accept that necessarily, but I can tell you why I do what I do is because of you specifically, and on the broader level, people like you. So I want to talk about your story a little bit. You're now an entrepreneur, and I want you to be able to share your story in a way that maybe is authentic, but also sort of relatable to the entrepreneur. So we wrote this book. It's called Always by Your Side, with the help of Richard Bakken, or actually Richard wrote it, and really it's about winning on the entrepreneurial battlefield with Mark and Marcus Haney. So it's our story of when we started the show, told through your eyes, right? Yeah. Told in your words, in your perspective, as this guy that's kind of helping his dad out with the show, but reflecting on your time as a veteran, your time on the battlefield. So I want to, if we look back at the beginning of this show, let's take it back a year or two before that, when you were in Afghanistan. You are a grunt, right? You're an infantry man, right? You're a squad leader. You're going to the most dangerous place on earth in the Helmand province of Afghanistan, Sangin, and you like to say banging and Sangin, right? Because Sangin was a deadly place for a lot of people that you know personally, a lot of your friends, and you specifically sacrificed a lot in Sangin. And I want to take you back to that time. And I know that you told me, and you've shared a story a little bit on this show, but you rolled up on an abandoned vehicle. What happened?
Yeah, we were on a quick reaction force mission. Basically, that is the guys who are on standby for the folks who are out on patrol or doing missions. And so it's basically the backup team per that particular mission. And one of our teams was bogged down in several hours of gunfight. One of our other vehicles, we drove MRAPs and what are called MAT-Vs, big-time trucks that stand 11, 12 feet in the air, big-time deals, had taken an IED and it was incapacitated. So they called up the wrecking team, the tow truck team with heavy guns, and said, "Hey, we need you to bring the QRF team that I was on, along with the wrecking crew, to come take the vehicle out of the enemy territory so that they couldn't utilize our equipment and or tools against us." So me and about 15 other Marines, about 8 cars deep, rolled into a hot zone that had been under firefight and IED combativeness for the last several hours. And I was in the lead vehicle with a couple of my buddies. And if you want me to continue the story.
Yeah. Well, I want to set this up a little bit because as you described it to me, you're kind of like single file line on a 1-lane road, if you will, next to a ridge. Or next to, there was no real place to do turn around or anything. Yeah. You're all kind of going in one direction toward the fight.
It was interesting because if you can imagine a big washout, imagine like a dry lake bed, if you will, or excuse me, like a riverbed, more like. And so there's little lanes here and there that you can kind of go off to that end up being little towns. Well, where we ended up going, like you said, there's 1-lane highway in Sangin, Afghanistan. It's one road in and out, and we pulled off to the side and we're driving through a riverbed, dry, with. Imagine you
were in the riverbed.
We were in the river, and there's enemy combatants on the top of the ridges. So we were we were not in good tactical position at that time, as per the reason why our teammates were bogged down in gunfight. They were out of ammo, out of water, and we were kind of coming in to help save the day and take the vehicle out. So
okay, so you guys you're in the lead vehicle, and you're the first guy out of the vehicle? Is that right?
Yeah, first guy out ready. Yeah, absolutely. When my boys are down, Haney comes to town.
And then what happened?
So we were, communicating with the guys under duress and trying to figure out how we're going to get ourselves to the down vehicle without receiving too much gunfire, and how to keep everybody out of harm's way type of deal. And we ended up pulling off to the side of the riverbed, and there was water on one side and a cliff on the other. So, we channelized ourselves, which is a not the right thing to do technically, but it was what had been decided by the commander. And so, okay, execute. We were in the lead vehicle, so we had this really interesting mine detector on the front of it. So there was the really heavy plated wheeled system that drove at the front of our vehicle as a lead vehicle, in case any IEDs went off, it would take this thing. So we couldn't back up very easily because this thing is sort of difficult to maneuver, especially in reverse. And there's a line of people, as we talked about. So getting 8 vehicles back up in simultaneous order would have been a challenge. So I was like, all right, dismount, get in the situation, figure it out, do your communication rhythms and things, and then. We got ambushed. We got ambushed for a lull in the fight for about 15 minutes. And we got ambushed. My vehicle took machine gun fire, RPG fire, and I ended up getting hit with a 7.62 round in the right thigh from a machine gun. And I lost a lot of blood instantaneously. I remember one of my lieutenants was forward, Brett Howard. We loud pop and snap, and both looked at each other and said, "Hey, you okay?" "Yeah, I'm good." "You okay, Haney?" "Yeah, I'm good to go." And he said, "No, you're not. You're bleeding." And all of a sudden, it hit me, a lot of, shock, I guess, if you will.
How long did it take? Okay, so you didn't know, you probably felt some pain. How many seconds, if you could remember, before you knew you were hit? Because it didn't graze you. It wasn't like, oh, barely got hit. You got hit solidly right through your can of chew.
Yeah.
Right? You got hit. You had a can of chew in your pocket, and it hit that, but it went right into your leg. You've got a massive, a bunch of surgeries later. You've got a lot of scars, but like it's a real gunshot wound. How long did it take you before you realized you got hit? Because it sounds painful.
So I had a can of Grizzly Wintergreen, luckily in my cargo pocket, my right cargo pocket. And I guess I vaguely remember turning to move and get behind some cover because we were getting shot at, and it was loud. And I hear my buddies returning fire above me, so I turned, and my leg wouldn't move, so I fell down, and so I basically fell to the ground.
How long after you got shot did that happen? Was that 1 second or 10 seconds?
Feels like a lifetime, probably.
Yeah, because you got to get out of the way.
And it's all your instant stuff are clicking in for you to go. Start returning fire, figure out what's wrong with you. We did a ton of medical training up to this point. So, we had our tourniquets and strategic spots. And so we were doing all this stuff. But it's really instantaneously. Fell to the ground. Then I ended up getting dragged by Brett Howard, who took me from under fire. He went and sacrificed himself he's still alive, but he went and put himself in harm's way to drag me behind a little broken wall safety area where I decided I gotta figure out how bad this puppy is, and started putting a tourniquet on my right leg. And that's when my buddy Adam Maxey, the radio operator for 1st Battalion, 7th Marines Animal Company, did a third base World Series type slide and ended up finishing off the tourniquet and getting me into a safety vehicle where from there we radioed up the helicopters and got taken out of country.
So thinking about that, so to me it's an exciting story. It may have even sounded to some people like we were glamorizing it in some way, and I don't imagine there's anything glamorous about it other than adrenaline and and luckily you're okay, and there was a lot of things a lot of difficulties that came after that. But I guess my question is, now you're an entrepreneur, right? So here we are. You look back at that moment, like there was all this build up to that, right? You went through so much pain and so much training and so much being yelled at and spit at. I'm picturing a gunny sergeant yelling so loud that saliva comes out when he's in your face. But but then the teamwork and coming together and all this preparation time for a moment like that. Contrast that to the battle of being an entrepreneur. I mean, like, how would you compare that? Are there any parallels?
Definitely don't want to glamorize combat, as it's not something to be glamorized. Who I do glamorize in the situation are the Brett Howards and the Adam Maxies of the world, who go above and beyond their call of duty for a fellow Marine like myself to ensure that I got home safely to my newly born son. So that, to me, epitomizes what it is to be a teammate and a brother and somebody that you can look to respect from here on out. And I look at those guys as my saviors in that time, because I would not be here without them. I'm confident in saying that. So when reverting to entrepreneurship and getting out of the military and trying to figure out what I was going to do, you make it look easy, and you mentioned the trials and tribulations and the times in the Marine Corps that I've had to run up Sand Hill and not be last because I didn't want to do it again. But what that did for the time when, the blood started coming out and it wasn't just sweat, and when the time that the war was taking place and it wasn't peace, when you're in entrepreneurship and you're down in the blood and stuff is not looking good, you're the only person sometimes that you can turn two to give yourself a little pep talk, that's that time when you realize, whether you got the grit and you're willing to put through it. And it's not easy. It's a very big challenge, especially when you have high expectations for yourself. You have high hopes. You've got people around you that are, hoping for you to be successful and not wanting to be able to let those folks down. And that's the same as you look at leading Marines. So I say that there's a ton of overlap, but one thing I think that all veterans, all entrepreneurs need to know is that, there's people like the brothers and sisters to the left and the right, and there's people like yourself who are helping, reaching out, and trying to bring that next person in line up to a snuff so that they can be looking at themselves as somebody of substance and as a hero of their own hometown.
Well, this is not about me, but I want to validate, maybe invalidate what you said too a little bit, but I want to validate that nobody builds anything truly great alone, whether that be a family or a business or even success in the military. It's like, hey, nobody does that alone. And a lot of times you don't think about all the pain and stuff that happens along the way. You look at somebody and go, hey, that guy's got it together, or that woman has it together. And, you don't really think about the pain that it took to get there. And I guess that's like kind of what we were talking about at the beginning of the show. It's like, look, it ain't easy. We spend a lot of time looking at the success, but maybe we don't spend enough time looking at the things that built the character in order to get there. And those are all done through the tough times. And really, I think if there's one key that has been a help to me. You think about my career, it's like I've had people in my life, specific business partners, including Bob Garrison, including my brother Paul, my brother-in-law Todd, and other people that have sort of been there to do that hook slide when I've been maybe wondering how I was going to survive. And there are people who have been hook sliding, and I hope I hook slided a little bit for other people too. But I mean, in my own way, but that's what it's about. If you think about what the beauty of entrepreneurship is, or maybe even the beauty of life, it's who are those people that are there for you when stuff hits the fan.
Live your dash, right? As I think I've heard a few people say that it's not where you start or how you end, but it's the effort and the relationships and the character you build throughout. And that's what I tell my 8-year-old son is, hey, you might not be the best today, but you can be great in the future.
So thinking about that, right? So your son, you learn from, in some ways, from a guy like me, and I learned from a guy like my dad. You look around my office, there's a little bit of personality that you can tell about somebody by the people, by the things that are in their office. So you got some Legato whiskey over there, one of my portfolio companies. That says a little bit about the type of people I like to invest into. I've got the radio behind me that my dad gave me after he ended up persevering a little bit. But raising a kid today is different than when I raised you or my dad raised me. I mean, my dad could get away with a whole heck of a lot more toughness on me than I could get away with on you, or what you might even get away with on your son. But how do you, I think if you don't teach people, if you don't let people feel the pain and learn what it's like to experience a little bit of pain, right? Then they're not going to be prepared when they get out to when they join the Marine Corps, right? They're just not going to be ready for real world entrepreneurship, or for joining the military, or for really anything associated with success.
And I look at team sports as being a big advocate in my life for that, of figuring out, okay, who do I want to be amongst this group of people who are my peers? Some are older, some are younger, some are better, some are not. Okay, how do I want to be perceived? And I think that if I can give my son a piece of advice, I'm looking back, it's, hey, be the guy that you want to be. And people are either going to love you or hate you for that. And I think those who like you love me, right? So that's you look at that as, okay, don't concentrate on trying to be everybody to everybody, and go out there and be you, be passionate. He's got a heart of gold. And if he can just keep on that path and keep looking forward and being the person who he wants to see in the mirror every day, then, I did my job as his father, and he'll grow up to be a great man.
Well, I think I influenced you some. You're influencing Hunter in a great way. And, as you were kind of saying that, and you think about some of the lessons that we learn on the athletic field for guys like me and you. We played football and baseball. Yeah. You did some wrestling and some other sports. I did a few other things. But the people that we didn't mention at the beginning of the show that I would have to say rank in there in the hero category, for me at least, would be some of the coaches that I had growing up playing football, growing up playing baseball. I'm thinking of John Wallace specifically, who raised a couple of great kids. Jerry Wallace is a good family friend, as is his brother Kevin. But that was a baseball coach that was hard on me at a time when I needed it, at a time when a lot of us needed it as teenagers. But you think about those people, they don't get paid to go coach, or they don't get, a high school baseball coach. He's a high school teacher typically, or a high school football coach. I mean, they're not getting paid a big salary, but yet these are some of the people that are, have made such an impact because they were hard on us, right? They were tough on us. And I think it probably put us in a position, maybe like that Gunny making you run up Sand Hill. It's like he put you in a position to survive that day. And, these are heroes, right? And I think we've got to spend our time celebrating true heroes.
Yeah, it's one of those things, like I mentioned before. Gunny would say, sweat and peace to avoid blood and war. And I think if we can put ourselves in that mentality of it's okay to put in the hard work, it's okay to be the first guy there, last guy to leave, and it's okay to show off a little bit that you are willing to do the extra effort, that gets recognized, that gets awarded, and those people at the end of the day end up ruling stuff, right? Those are the people who become the CEOs of companies. Those are the guys that are sitting in this chair talking to you about the success they have. And not one time have I heard any of those folks say it was easy. Not one time. They've got battle scars, they've got bruises, and guess what? It's not going to be easy, but it's that point in your life that you decide that you're not going to give up is when you truly become an entrepreneur.
Yeah. It's interesting that you say that. One of the things that you and I have talked about a lot of times is it's okay to be great. It's okay to be different. It's okay to be the hardest trier on your team or the hardest trier in the squad. I mean, it's okay to stand out. And it's like a lot of times people want to conform and fit in because it's easier, but it's like, man, it doesn't take that much more to be number one in effort, in attitude, and be the best. It's okay to be great. And the other thing that I think, and I'll share this with you, but I'm kind of looking for your perspective more than me. If there was I'll share with you my perspective, but if there was an attribute or an attitude that you learned, whether it be in the Marine Corps or maybe it was in a tougher situation in your life, if there was a lesson there, what would that be? Can you think of like a philosophy that you have, that you're proud that you have it, you're glad you have it, and you would like to see Hunter have it as well?
You mentioned attribute, and the first thing that came to my mind was mental toughness. And I think that you get that from playing team sports, and when you strike out and everybody's looking and, hey, how are you going to respond? Hey, you don't make the all-star team and you have heartaches and you're not going to be able to, put yourself into a position. So what I would say is my biggest attribute that I've learned through, learning from you as somebody who's an entrepreneur, coach my whole life, but also in the military, was how to be mental tough. And it's only going to last a little while. The pain only lasts for a moment. And if you don't mind, then it does not matter.
Now, okay, so interesting off of that. So mentally tough, though, where does that come from? If you were to say, okay, yeah, you got to be mentally tough, but how do you get to be mentally tough?
I think it's probably going through trials and tribulations in your life. It's failing, right? It's not getting what you want. It's understanding that you're not the best today, but you can be tomorrow. So there becomes, and I've got it, and I'm sure you've got it, and I think most people that tune into this program have got that burning desire in their stomach, right? So I think that there's the ability for people to feel sorry for themselves, right? And say, man, I can blame the outside world, I can blame the president, I could blame the media, whatever. But if you don't have that burning desire inside of your stomach that is going to be that gut check, no pun intended, that you look internally for and decide that, hey, I am not going to get beat today. I'm not going to get beat on this last wind sprint in practice, because guess what? It's going to prepare me for the game. Doing the extra military medical drills to ensure that our buddies got off the battlefield is why today I can still walk and coach my son's Little League team, is because practice in peace avoids blood and war.
Practice and peace.
Sweat and peace, excuse me.
Sweat and peace avoids blood and war. As you were saying that, it was reaffirming what I was going to mention as, and I won't say I'm the best at this, but if there's any, because what ended up happening with me, I wasn't that good at anything. I was maybe good at throwing a party that people wanted to come to, and so I invited people in, and we built a few businesses, had a little bit of success, and that's kind of it. I keep replaying that whole thing right now, where really I'm trying to put people in my life that sort of fill in the gaps and make me feel a little less afraid and a little more confident in going for it. But if there was an attribute that I learned as a child that I don't think some of the people that we call heroes have quite learned, and I think you mentioned it, and it really is about being a victim. Right? Blaming other people when things do not go your way. And I think that that's one thing that I'm proud that I raised children, you and your sister, she's an entrepreneur, you're an entrepreneur, and it hasn't been easy on you guys, right? You guys are building things, right? You were, you didn't have it that easy. You're not the big guy on the football field with all the natural talent. You're the guy that had to outwork everybody in order to, become, get in the starting lineup and so on. I had that same thing. My parents, 3 brothers and sisters, 4 total of us, they would let us fight, right? And, if there was a scuffle, you just fight it out and then don't complain, don't tattle. Tattling wasn't an option. It was kind of like what you learn in those early ages, 8, 9, 10, on the ball field as a kid is like complaining and blaming and, whining about why things didn't go your way, when really we should be almost celebrating why things didn't go your way. Perfect. What a great learning opportunity.
Yes.
What a good way for you not to be a victim. It's the perfect opportunity for me to reinforce the mentality, don't be a victim. I mean, you've set it up perfectly as you're complaining about, I didn't get to be the starter on the football team. It's the perfect opportunity, not that you did that, but it's the perfect opportunity to reinforce you're sounding like a victim, right? Or or you have negative consequences. It's when you act like a victim instead of getting positive feedback for crybabying and whining. In reality, the moment you discover that whining wastes time, that is a moment of discovery that you can never quite put behind you, because when you discover that and you believe it in your heart that whining and being a whiner and being a vocal victim is absolutely a waste of time. Once you discover that, it's such a revelation, right, for putting you on a path to success. And I see it in entrepreneurship. There's some people out there. Why don't people want to give me money? I'm trying to raise capital, and I've been on 30 pitch appointments, and I still can't get any money, right? And it's like, you sound like a whiner, dude. You're not going to get any money doing it that way. Okay, so let's reframe your attitude a little bit, and or maybe you just have some learning to do, right? You need to struggle. It's obvious you need to re-struggle. You need to struggle because you're still whining about it, and you're an adult.
What are you going to do about it, right? I mean, okay, you can sit here, complain, whine, say it's not fair. I didn't get the PPP loan, this, that, and the other. What are you going to do about it? Are you going to sit there in the corner and cry and continue to get beat up? Or are you going to stand up and start throwing your own punches? Are you going to stand up there and start throwing somebody against the wall in your own right, in your own world, and take control? And I think that that's the big thing, right? People are afraid to take responsibility. And I think until you can come and really wholeheartedly say, man, if this is going to be something, it's up to me, right? Yeah. And I got to take responsibility.
If it's meant to be,
it's up to me.
Yeah, I agree. And I think if there's a lesson that you could learn from guys like Marcus Haney, guys like me, and what I would say is most entrepreneurs that have been on our show and in this book, these people didn't have it easy, and they didn't whine about it. They didn't cry about it. They figured out a way. They took their opportunity or lack of opportunity, their life. They took their life into their own two hands, and they dealt with that. And I think you're right, Marcus. It was part of taking your life and putting it in your own hands is finding people that believe like you do, that are loyal to you, to put in your life, that want to help you, that you want to help back. Part of you, what you got to do as far as taking your life in your own hand is build yourself a team, yes. Right? Build yourself a little, one person at a time that wants to take a bullet for you. And it starts by you being willing to take a bullet for him or her.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And that's why with my company, I'm surrounding myself with veterans. I've got some Air Force veterans, some Army veterans, some Marine Corps veterans around me. And I couldn't ask for a better group of folks to have by my side, because I know when the going gets tough that those folks are right by my side and willing to take a 7.62 round to the thigh because they know it's the right thing to do.
All right, so some of you guys out there are going to kind of wrap today. People are saying, okay, I like these guys or I hate these. We can't be everything to everybody, as you just mentioned. So we love our country. We love our hometown. We love our family. And we love people that don't call themselves heroes, right? We love the everyday heroes of the American economy, the people that are out there but doing all the behind-the-scenes stuff. Not necessarily famous. If you want to hear about some of those people, they are in our book. People who have built businesses in Sacramento. Part of the way we started this show is this was told through Marcus Haney's eyes, the warrior that you now know a little bit better. You're going to learn what it was like to meet these entrepreneurs while on our show and understanding what makes them tick, because they are the heroes of the American economy. They are the leaders of Sacramento. Our book is always by your side. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it on Audible. I hope you like it. It's at least a story about who you are, Marcus, and it's a little bit about me, and it's a lot about entrepreneurship, and it's about veterans and those guys that are really the heroes of this great country that we live in. So I want to thank you, Marcus, again. My goal with this whole show is just to make you proud, and it's something that I think about every day of my life, and hopefully I have a lot more days to do it.
You certainly made me proud. I think you make your whole hometown of Sacramento proud that we have somebody like you out there speaking the voice of the entrepreneur, the people that are out there moving and shaking and making this country what it's great for.
And to all you out there that are fighting the good fight for our security, our peace, our freedom, our way of life, and to all you out there fighting the good fight for entrepreneurship, we are never above you, Never below you. Always by your side. Boom.
Thanks for watching today's show. My goal for every episode is that you find a takeaway, something tangible you can use in your business today. And if you have a comment about a favorite takeaway, feel free to put it in the box below. And if you have a topic that you'd like me to bring up on the show, don't forget to let me know. And also, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel if you want to learn more about entrepreneurship. Because at HaneyBiz, we are always by your side.